Now let's look at a trinomial where we've got a number other than 1 as the coefficient for the x squared. So I'm going to use the x method as well, but there's also going to be an extra step in the process of factoring as well. So one thing that's going to change with the x, the b term does stay on the bottom, but on the top now, instead of it being just the c, it's going to be a times c. And then the numbers we fill in on the sides, that part's going to be identical. So if we go to our example here, and just to emphasize, the reason we're going to do our method a little bit differently is because of that 5 being in front of the x squared. So on the bottom we've got negative 14, and on the top we're going to have to multiply these two together. So 5 times 8 is 40, and it's positive 40, so that's what goes on the top of our x. Now let's look for our numbers. So in this case we might try out some different ones. Let's say if we did something like 2 and 20. Well, one thing I'm noticing about the signs is that the top number is a positive and the bottom number is negative. In order to multiply to get a positive, they either need to both be positive or both be negative. I know mine both need to be negative in order for the bottom result to be negative once I add the two together, but here this doesn't work out because negative 2 plus negative 20 is negative 22, so that doesn't work. And it also tells me that since the number is too big, that I really want these numbers to be a little bit closer together, and that should help us out. So I might start to choose numbers that are bigger than negative, or bigger than just 2 in general, or smaller than 20. In both cases, they'd want to be negative. So let's get rid of this. So 3 doesn't work, so I might go ahead and try 4 now. And if we did that, we would end up with 10 and 4. They both need to be negative, so if we check it, well, negative 10 times negative 4 is positive 40, so that works out, that's what we wanted. Negative 10 plus negative 4 is, in fact, negative 14, which we also wanted. So now we're going to take those two numbers, and at this point we don't have enough information to get to our final answer yet, and that's where it's going to be different for factoring trinomials, where the first number, a, is not equal to 1, because what I'm going to actually do is try to rewrite my trinomial. So I'm just going to write the exact same thing up here, 5x squared minus 14x plus 8. And I'm going to rewrite below it the 5x squared and the plus 8 are not going to change. But now, instead of writing a negative 14, we're going to write it using the negative 10 and the negative 4. So instead of negative 14x, I'm going to write it as negative 10x minus 4x. If we think about it, well, negative 10x minus 4x, if I combine those, is negative 14x. So I actually haven't changed my trinomial, I've just sort of changed the way it looks a little bit. And by changing it this way, I have 4 terms now, so I could actually go through the process of factoring by grouping, which is what we're going to do. So the first two, we can take out a 5x. So that leaves us 5x times x minus 2. The next pair, I can take out a 4, but I'm going to also take out a negative, since I notice that that first term that I'm trying to factor from is negative. So I'm going to take out a negative 4. That leaves me with a positive x minus 2. So then the final result, we're at that point now, x minus 2 times 5x minus 4. So if I try to emphasize some of the changes from the factoring that we did before, well, the first thing is, it's all blurry now, you can't really see, but it's going to change when the number in front of the x squared is not equal to 1. So if it's anything else, we're going to use this method, and that means in the top of our x, we're going to do x times c, and that also means we're going to have to do factoring by grouping. And I'll do a couple more examples like this.